I am that I am. 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 I am that I
Grand Rising, Wose. Grand Rising, and welcome to Wose Community Church, the Church of the Sacred African Way. We are very happy you were able to join us today. And now, our Teasley youth will lead us in affirmation.
We will know God's truth to be free and self-determined.
Creator, help us to remember the humanity, glory, and suffering of our ancestors, and to honor the struggles of our elders.
Let us strive to bring new vision and life to our people. Let there be peace and harmony among us.
Let us be loving, sharing, and creative. Let us work, study, and listen so we may learn, teach, and cultivate self-reliance.
Grant us power, O Holy One, as we struggle to resurrect our hearts and our homeland.
We will raise our children according to the needs of our nation, with discipline, patience, devotion, and courage. We will strive to be the living models of the new direction of our people.
We are an African people.
We are children of God.
Ashe. Bobby Jeff, we have a song.
This is a Soul Fire production. Soul Fire Reggae.
Something beautiful's gonna happen to me. I can That's how I know. Something beautiful's gonna happen to me. I can feel it.
Yes, something beautiful is coming our way right away. In fact, the mother of those Teasley youth you just saw, that is our own senior minister, Minister Alicia. And she's coming forward now with our historical tribute. Minister Alicia?
Mr. Alicia, take yourself off mute.
Sorry. I am having problems with one of my, the one, I was using a second device. So I'm going to try to see if it'll work for screen sharing. And then I will just talk on my phone. Hopefully this will work.
So far, so good.
All right.
Shame.
Okay. So my historical tribute is on Robert. Now I've tried to say this name 50 million times. It's a German word, and I even tried to, go to the German to try to figure out the pronunciation, but I'll probably mess it up, but I'm still gonna try. So Robert Singh Thakur Abbott, he was a lawyer, newspaper publisher, and editor. So Robert Singh Thakur Abbott, he was called the father of Black journalism. And since we're in June, I was trying to look for the fathers of some things. But writing and things of that nature are really near and dear to me. So I found this information very interesting. So Robert S. Abbott was born on December 24th, 1870 in St. Simons Islands, Georgia, to formerly enslaved parents. And the St. Simons Islands is like the islands where like the Gullah Geechee were. Let's see, to formerly enslaved parents of Flora and Thomas Abbott. Thomas Abbott died when Robert was a baby. Flora then married a mixed man from Germany, John Singh Thakur. He studied printing at Hampton Institute in Georgia and graduated in 1896. He earned a law degree from Kent Law School in 1899. Finding a job as a lawyer was difficult because of racism and discrimination, and that propelled him towards a different career. And so that kind of inspired me because, as you are going along in life, you're trying to do one thing and you see these blockages, and it kind of takes you in a different way. And when it takes you in a different way, you find out that that's the way that you should have been going the whole entire time. So I thought that was interesting. So that prepared him towards a different career. In 1905, Robert S. Abbott founded the Chicago Defender. The Chicago Defender was a weekly newspaper. It started out with a 25-cent investment. It was a 4-page pamphlet that increased circulation with every edition. The Chicago Defender ran editorials attacking oppression, racial justice, and the lynchings of African Americans. They didn't use the terms Negro or Black, but to talk about Black people, they would call them the race. They would call them race men and race women. They promoted anti-lynching slogan that if you must die, take at least one with you. Momentum. Southern states tried to ban the newspaper because during World War I, the Defender urged equal treatments of Black soldiers. They were always outspoken when it comes to what Black people were doing at that time. It was carried south by railroad porters, passed from person to person, and read aloud in barbershops and churches. So the newspaper, they didn't want it down in the South. So in order to be able to get a hold of it, they were able to make contact with the porters, and the railroad porters were Black people, so they would take it there, and then they would be able to get it into the South. So Abbott, through the Defender, was a leader in the Great Northern Migration movement. They were like one of the major leaders to have the people, a lot of the people from the South, a lot of the Black people from the South moving towards the North. Between World War I and the Great Depression, over 1 million Black Southerners migrated north. The Defender published articles contrasting opportunities for African Americans in the North versus what they were going through in the South. They did a lot of comparisons, and they were, trying to picture the North as more of a utopia, as versus the South. So by 1929, the Defender was selling more than 250,000 copies per week. It was estimated that each paper sold was being read by 4 to 5 African Americans, putting readership at over 500,000 people a week. And so we talk about turning over the dollars in the Black neighborhood, but they were also turning over information, and that's important as well. And so when you bought a copy, you would read it to other people, or you would hand it off to this Black person. That Black person would hand it off to another Black person. That Black person would do the same thing. So each one sold, or was saying that those weren't the only people reading it. It was good enough to where you passed it on. When you read something and it's so good that you send it to your friend, that's how it was. So the Defender was fast becoming a voice for the voiceless. Speaking out. In World War II, the Defender, along with other African American newspapers, protested the treatment of Black servicemen. It urged the integration of the armed forces. So we know that Black servicemen were not being treated fairly at all and whatsoever. And so the Defender was a mouthpiece, talking about these things, and that, okay, we're fighting in your war. We still need to, we need to be respected as well. Robert Abbott died in Chicago on February 29th, 1940 of Bright's disease. And so in his will, he named his nephew John H. Sengstacke his successor. So under him, the U.S. Threatened indictment for sedition, but with him, he had a compromise that was reached through the First Amendment, keeping the freedom of speech with the Black press. The Defender became a daily newspaper in 1956. The Defender writers. So the Defender, it wasn't just Robert Abbott that was writing there. The Defender was noted for its quality of writers. Along the way, novelist Willard Motley, poet Gwendolyn Brooks, and poet Langston Hughes were writers in the Defender. Hughes's Simple Stories first appeared in 1942, and he wrote his column for over 20 years. And there's some examples of those things next to it. The Defender. The success of the paper made Abbott one of the first African-American self-made millionaires. He was a support to other African-American visionaries. For example, he helped Bessie Coleman enter aviation school by paying her tuition. John Sengstacke passed in 1997, and then the Defender's national influence declined. But by 2003, was bought by Real Times, which was a company controlled by one of Sengstacke's relatives. Then in 2019, it moved to a digital-only format. So he was able to, when he was making his millions, he was making it through the black dollar because they were circulating, and he was making that through the black dollar. And he was able to support a lot of people. So when I saw this, I thought of Kujichagulia, We Shall Speak for Ourselves. And I started looking at a lot of the different, this is not a conclusive list, but a lot of the ways that we were able to communicate with each other wasn't just by word of mouth, but they had the Freedom's Journal in 1827, North Star 1847, the Christian Reporter 1852, the California Eagle in 1879, the Philadelphia Tribune 1884, Memphis Free Speech and Headlight 1888, Baltimore Afro-American 1892. Then there was the Chicago Defender in 1905, Pittsburgh Courier, and you guys can read these, but what they all had in common is that they all spoke out about injustices that were happening in different places in the African American life. And they were all talking what was going on within African American life, and we were speaking for ourselves. We weren't letting the mainstream news media just say what they had to say without us being able to speak to each other in this type of format. So I would like to pour libation. I would like to pour libation to Robert Senstalker Abbott. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Robert Senstalker Abbott. I believe Baba Jeff has another song for us. Baba Jeff? Sounds of Ma'at, setting the vibe just right. All right, so now we come to our litany of sacrifice, and Mama Darnisha and Baba Ustadi are going to lead us. Mama Darnisha, Baba Ustadi.
Good morning, Baba. You want to get started? Once he puts these screens, it puts it on the screen for us.
Oh, yes.
Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words from my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gift that has been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the gods of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly, we bring our sacrifices to you. We praise your name, O Amun-Ra, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Community, Kujichagulia, self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Together, we shall build and maintain our own businesses and together profit from them.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and development of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
Kaumba, creativity. We shall do as much as we can in any way we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it.
Imani, faith. We will believe with all our hearts in our God, our people,
and in the righteousness and the victory of our struggle. Ashe.
Ashe.
There's some addresses on the screen that you all can see for those who continue to use snail mail. Addresses for both Oakland and Sacramento. You also have 2 websites. At either websites you can go to and follow the website links to be able to make a digital contribution. And we thank you for all of your support. We thank you for every penny, every ounce of time, every bit of effort that you contribute towards this community.
Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, we give thanks for another day, another prayer, another positive collection of people coming together. We give thanks for each and every one of those who have donated today to keep the movement going. We say prayers for all of those who have lost someone today. We say prayers for all of those who had give and those who want to give and those who couldn't give. In your name we pray. We say Ashe, 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 Amen, Ashe.
Ashe.
Oh.
Now, bringing our message today, our young minister, Imhotep.
That's just wrong. All right.
Just
Hey.
take note, you're the one that is laughing hardest, right?
Yeah. And I believe our birthdays are what, a month apart?
That's funny, man. All right. Hey, I'm glad to see everyone. Michelle, General Ampim is with us today, and Tony Nantamba. Great meditation this morning, given to us by Sister Rashonda. And even though the music didn't come through as we wanted to live, but it was a great effort, and we look forward to hearing from them again if you look up Brother Hanif on YouTube, you can hear some great music by him. So just because we didn't get a chance to hear him today, we're looking forward to hearing him in our service in the future. So let's just get to the message. Our message today is beware the destroyers. Beware the destroyers. And here we have Cecil Rhodes standing over Africa. This was something that they actually drew back in the day, and he is, Zimbabwe, before it was named Zimbabwe, had the name Rhodesia after him. And here we're showing how Africa was carved up at the Berlin Conference and the Brussels Conference. And that's why it looks like the jigsaw puzzle that we have today, where the Spanish took one part, the Portuguese took one part, the Italians took one part, the Germans, the British, the Belgium, the French. They had to scramble for Africa. And so that's why it looks like it's in that jigsaw puzzle even today. But first, before we go any further, we want to send out prayers to Brother Damu Sudi Ali's grandson. I had a conversation with Brother Sudi yesterday, a really great conversation with him, and he's getting over some of his vision issues. But he let me know that his grandson, he has twin grandsons, and one of them has a heart issue. So we want to remember to keep him in our prayers. And as was mentioned earlier, the brother of Sister Thandiwe, we want to keep them in our prayers. And also our brother Tahuti Kajimni, Terrence Guilford, has recently joined the ancestors. So let's please keep Sister Karen and his family in our prayers. I just found out on Friday, but I understand that it happened a week before. So we want to remember them. We want to remember him in our prayers and his family. So our freedom writings will come from 2000 Seasons. Here's a young Ayikwe Arma, and here's how he looks today. And the freedom writings will come from page 2 of 2000 Seasons, second and third paragraphs. And it says this: pieces cut off from their whole are nothing but dead fragments. From the unending stream of our remembrance, the harbingers of death break off meaningless fractions. Their carriers bring us news of shards. Their message, behold this paltriness. This is all your history. Beware the destroyers. It is their habit to cut off fingers from the hand itself, uproot it from its parent body, calling each fallen piece a creature in itself, different from ears, eyes, noses, feet, entrails, and other individual creatures of their making. Is it a wonder we have been flung so far from the way, that our people are scattered even into the desert, across the sea, and away from this land, and we have forgotten how to recognize ourselves? Beware the destroyers. And Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, who started the Journal of African Civilizations, and one of his books, Egypt, Child of Africa, edited by him. And here are our chapters in that book for your, it was written in 1995 for your, review later on. Tribute to Chancellor Williams by Runoko Rashidi. Articles by Asa Hilliard, Van Sertima, and there's a couple of articles from our own Professor Manu Ampim. And Professor Manu Ampim right now is leading a tour of African people back to the motherland, back to the land of Kemet. But he's also in this book, and he's refuting the modern forgeries that they have put in the Cairo Museum. But the book is edited by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, and here is Dr. Van Sertima, a picture of Dr. Van Sertima and a quote. And those of you that remember Dr. Van Sertima, he was a fantastic scholar, wrote, they came before Columbus, and just a fantastic teacher and lecturer. So in his book here, he has these words. He says, first of all, the Egyptian as we see him today is different in his racial composition from the Egyptian of dynastic times. As we modern Americans in this room and at this moment are from the early peoples who created Native Americans. Second, because we have been fed upon the achievements of European and Asian civilization, we would dare not question the indigenous basis of their civilization. For we have not come upon them as we have come upon the poor African, his world looted, shattered, his empires in splinter, his peripheral elements focused upon obsessively as though they were the very center and climax of his cultural development. All through our lives, we have seen the European and to some extent the Asian in the flower of their ascendancy. But we have been trained to see and imagine only one kind of African, the primitive, the slave, the colonial, the tragic outcast, and the misfit on the edge of the modern world. If therefore we find him at the center of a civilization, the matter of its origin and its inspiration becomes highly suspect. The question immediately arises, are we really dealing with a true African? Let's dig up his graves. Let's check out his crania. Let us rip off the mummy wrappings. Is the nose of the ancient Egyptian broad enough to be a Negro? Are his lips thick enough? Does his jaw jut out far enough? Is his skin black enough? Is he not just a tanned European, a brown Mediterranean, a Euro-African, a Hamite, an Afro-Asian? And then we find, I'm just going to deal with this paragraph here, where he tells us Native African populations are phenotypically polytypic. That is, there exists in Africa a variety of phenotypes, faces, and body shapes that may differ from the stereotypical Negro, falsely formed and firmly fixed within the rigid imagination and classification of Eurocentric observers. Crawford outlined 6 of these variants or types. I shall less they be lost to the students, highlight the main features of these types. There is the elongated variant, to which the General Arid, who fought our troops to stand off in Somalia belongs, Adid, who fought off our troops to stand off in Somalia belongs. This variant is distinguished by an elongated build, narrow head, face, nose, dark skin, spiraled hair, thick but not extroverted lips, everted lips. They range from long to moderately long-headed, with a narrow nose opening, long narrow face, mild to absent prognathicism, that is, with either slightly or protruding or non-protruding upper lower jaw. This stands in contrast to the classical Negro type, but are indigenous, unmixed Africans. They were living in Africa long before Egypt was born. The elongated types include the Fulani, the Tutsi, the Hema, the Maasai, the Gala, the Somali, the Bija in Northern Sudan. I know that's a lot that I read. Hope that you're still with me. So Minister Shango posted this article just yesterday. Egypt bans archaeological team from Saqqara due to museum's Afrocentric exhibition. And this just came out June 7th. A team of archaeologists from a Dutch museum has been banned from carrying out excavations in Egypt's rich Saqqara necropolis for the museum mounted an exhibition that drew condemnation from Egyptian authorities. After the opening, Kemet, Egypt in hip hop, jazz, soul, and funk, the National Museum of Antiquities in Leiden received an email from the head of foreign missions of the Egyptian Antiquities Service saying that the museum is falsifying history with its Afrocentric approach. This was in the Dutch newspaper. The reason that the permits were denied is the presumed falsifying history in the current exhibition, adding that the museum is trying to open the dialogue with the Egyptian authorities about the matter. This isn't the first time that Egypt has objected to the depictions of its ancient ancestors. It recently criticized Netflix docuseries Queen Cleopatra, which portrays the ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt as a woman of color. Zahi Hawass, an Egyptologist and former Egyptian Minister of Antiquities, wrote last month that no one with even a little education could make a film showing Cleopatra as Black. You know what, sisters and brothers, this is just too easy. It's just, for me, it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel. Let's look at this quote here. This is from an ancient Greek historian, Diodorus Siculus. He says the hieroglyphics were actually an Ethiopian script, Nubian script, which was held sacred by the Kemites and was learned and transmitted only within the priestly families of Kemet. Among the Nubians, the script was so common that most Nubians knew how to read and write the hieroglyphics. These claims are validated by the findings of the archaeologist Amelanu, who discovered a Black people called the Anu. By the way, my oldest son, his middle name is Anu. Discovered a Black people called the Anu in the southern region of Kemet and Sudan. They had already developed the writing system and had built the first cities 7,000 BC. So this is the controversy, because they made Cleopatra, they put this Cleopatra, they finally cast it right for the Nile Valley. And I love this meme here. They object because of historical accuracy, but they didn't object when they made the mummy movie. How historically accurate was that? Now, these are some historical portrayals. I didn't make them. You didn't make them. This is something that goes back thousands of years. And even in the 14th century, when Shakespeare was writing about Cleopatra, this is how they portrayed her. I enlarged this because this is Cleopatra. Look at her features. Look at the woman. Oh, by the way, Cleopatra the Seventh. This is what Herodotus, you live and die by Herodotus. They're always quoting Herodotus, the great Greek historian. This is what he says. The Colchians, Ethiopians, and Egyptians have thick lips, broad noses, woolly hair, and are burnt of skin. And then, you can look at ancient Greek and Roman scholars, and they consistently describe the ancient Egyptians as Africans, as people that are burnt of skin. We just gave a quote from Herodotus. Here's another one. The Colchians, who are Egyptian, have black skin and woolly hair and descend from the army of Sesostris, or that's the way they say that they pronounce Senrose Ret. The Ethiopians, say the Egyptians are colonists sent out by Ethiopians as Osiris being the leader of their colony. This is what the Roman historian Diodorus Siculus says, and these are some representations of how they represented the Africans during the first and second century in Egypt, Rome, Greece, Tunisia, which was then they called Carthage, and in Turkey. Yes, we were in Turkey too. This is the ancient Comitian or Kemetic glyph for the face. This is how they wrote the face. Why would they use a Black person to write the face? And I love this brother here. See this symbol here? This is a brother, his name is Mr. Imhotep. And he puts out a lot of great pictures. Never met him, but I'm going to reach out to him and maybe he'll come and talk to us one day. Maybe he can be one of our guests, either during a service or Black Knowledge Matters or some special event. But look at how this is the glyph for the face. And Obama, he went to Kemet, he went to Egypt, and he found himself there. He sees his likeness.
Dated to 4,600 years ago, and the person who is buried here, his name is Kar, and his name is written hieroglyphic as Kar, and actually
That looks like me. Look at those ears.
the Kar will go through this stone. They call it a whole stone.
Wow. I didn't see that on the news. Here, Kevin Hart, he's having problems. They won't let him come and do his comedy routine. But when you compare his picture with the statue of Senrose Rhett, who we talked about earlier, they called Saraswatis, look just like him. Look at Don Creedle. It looks like they used him as a model. And of course, Mike Tyson looks like Pharaoh Menes. Kevin Hart, Don Cheadle, and Mike Tyson. These are just people that we've seen out there. It's just too easy. Really, it is. They need to stop it. They need to just admit what happened. That they came in, took over, and they're not the original Egyptians. Actually, maybe they are the Egyptians, but we are the Kemites. We are the Cometians. Look at this. This is a modern day person from South Africa. And this is Mena. Even, I saw this man, he was on The View. Good Lord, he should stop. But even Tim Scott, okay. You know, when I first look at Tim Scott, I see that he looks like one of the Cosby kids on that old Bill Cosby cartoon. That's him. But you know what? There could be another side to him. And here is a Purah from Nubia that he resembles. I mean, you see people walking around today that have that 10,000-year-old look. Now, in the 70s, particularly I think 78, there was a controversy about Tutankhamun. Let's don't call him King Tut. His name is Tutankhamun, which means living image of Amun. And here he is. You look at a young Black child. You compare the pictures. Looks very close. And he had one of those long heads. I remember going to school with people with long heads. We called them hook. But in certain places in Africa, that's the way they wanted your head to be shaped. And if your head wasn't shaped that way, they would tie it up and make sure that it grew that way. This is somebody from the Congo. And this is King Tut. And they want to tell me, well, the reason why he's Black It's because of ceremonial. They come up with any flimsy excuse to say, okay, he's not a Black either. He's not an African. Going back to Van Sertima, let's repeat it. He says that the native African populations are phenotypically holotypic. That is, there exists in Africa a variety of phenotypes, faces, or body shapes that may differ from the stereotypical quote unquote Negro, falsely formed and firmly fixed within the rigid imagination and classification of Eurocentric observers. Then he goes and he lists these types: Fulani, Tutsi, Hema, Maasai, Gala, Somali, Bija. Slanted eyes originated in Africa. Look at this sister from the Sudan. This was from a National Geographic that I had. Now look at that sister. A Dinka and a Khoisan girl. So Dinka's in the Sudan, Khoisan is in South Africa. This is another Khoisan, a little boy. Now, I'm going to talk about this in a few weeks from now, but there's a place in Cambodia called Angkor Wat. It's like one of the largest temples in the world. And on the temples is people like this sister, these sisters. Here's a sister with cornrows and slanted eyes in Cambodia. The late, great Dr. Runoko Rashidi says that we go from snow to crow. These are called San people or Khoisan people. They're pure African people. They have light skin. They get lots of sun. Their DNA goes back 200,000 years, and they are not mixed with Caucasian. And so sometimes when we see different statues, Comitian, Kemetic statues, and the person's coloring will be that way, and they'll, Egyptologists, they want to jump in. They want to say, well, look, this proves that these are not African people. These people are walking around today. This is a sister from South Africa. And I told her this morning I was going to mention it. Our own Sister Bertha Rose. This sister here reminds me of Sister Bertha Rose when I look at it. And these are people from Chad, Ethiopia, South Africa, Kemet. We come in, I mean, because we're the original people, we go from snow to crow, the tallest, the shortest, the broadest nose. And sometimes a sister is just a sister. Ancient Kemet, I don't know where she's from. I would say perhaps Ethiopia. There's 11 major ethnic groups in the country of Ethiopia. Not just the people that we see at our Ethiopian restaurant. There are 11 different ethnic groups or phenotypes. And they really dig our people, literally. That's what Van Sertima is. Rip off the bandages of the mummies. Remember when they tell you that Kemet was white? To this day, Ethiopians, Somalians, Fulanis, Eritreans are classified as Caucasian by anthropologists. Use your brain and not what you're told. True history, not his story. Somebody wrote this, and peace and blessings. Now here's King Tut, or Tutankhamun, living image of Amun, next to a Somali. Now, could he get stopped by the police driving while black? What about this brother here in the corner? The University of Cambridge realized a study on the body proportions of the ancient Egyptians using skeletons from the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom, pharaohs such as Tutmosis I, II, and III, and IV, Queen Hatshepsut, King Tut, Seti. I mean, these are major per us. Ramses. They concluded that the ancient Egyptians' body proportions were super Negroid, resulting of evolving in hot climate. Then this, again, this is one that's put out by that brother, Mr. Imhotep. But they have to dig, let people just stay in the ground. And whoops, I didn't mean to go back. Let's see. I want to read this again. But we have been trained to see and to imagine only one kind of African, the primitive, the slave, the colonial, the tragic outcast and misfit on the edge of the modern world. If, therefore, we find him at the center of a civilization, the matter of its origins and its inspirations becomes highly suspect. The question immediately arises, are we really dealing with a true African? Let us dig up his graves. Let us check out his crania. Let us rip off his mummy wrappings. Is the nose of the ancient Egyptian broad enough to be a Negro? Are his lips thick enough? Does his jaw jut out far enough? Is his skin black enough? Is he not just a tan European, a brown Mediterranean, a Euro-African, a Hamite, an Afro-Asian? This is what we're dealing with when we're dealing with this whole topic of Cleopatra. Here's a brother, Masai, next to Khafra. You can find this statue at the Cairo Museum. I mean, and when you compare them, oh, okay. Straight noses are Africoid too. Look at these brothers. Now here's a mummy. And look at these brothers. A mummy and these brothers. Straight noses are also an African feature. Runoko told us, we go from snow to crow. We are the gambit because we are the original people. And why are noses missing from so many Commission statues? And it's really kind of ridiculous because, okay, yeah, you chip that nose off, but there's that big hole still there. You know that a nose went there. Of course, this practice isn't limited to Kemet. These are in India. They were there too. I don't have time. This is Vishnu. I don't have time to get into it today. Wherever we go, they chip our noses off. And here, they did this to the Zuzer, who's credited with, you know, the step pyramid was built for him. This is how it was, the statue, and after they got finished with it, this is how it looks. That's what Menu, when Menu goes, Professor Menu Ampim, when he goes to Kemet, he's also recording how far that they've done. You know, if you go to YouTube and type in Professor Menu Ampim, he can show you, he has videos showing them sanding off columns to deny the African presence. And as we draw to a close, let's go back to our Freedom Writings. 2000 Seasons, page 2, second and third paragraph. Pieces cut off from the whole are nothing but dead fragments. From the unending stream of our remembrance, the harbingers of death break off meaningless fractions. Their carriers bring us news of shards. Their message, behold this paltriness. This is all your history. So they tell us, they hold up slavery and Reconstruction and civil rights and say, this is all your history. You don't have anything to do with the Moors coming in and bringing civilization to Europe. You don't have anything to do with the greatness that we find in the Indus Valley and the Kemetic, the Nile Valley. You don't have anything to do with the Hawaiians or the Olmec cultures. Just this little thing that we want to tell you about. And now in Florida, they're trying to deny that. When they rewrite the textbooks in Florida for Rosa Parks, they take out the fact that she's an African-American woman. What is the point of the story? Beware the destroyers. It is their habit to cut off fingers from the hand, uproot itself from its parent body, calling each fallen piece a creature in and of itself, different from ears, eyes, nose, feet, entrails, and other individual creatures of their making. So the AKAs are different from the Crips, the whatever group that we're in. We consider ourselves different from those other Africans, and we don't even use those words. I'm actually trying to mount a campaign where the N word is changed to netter or nettert, netteru for plural. Is it a wonder that we have been flung so far from the way that our people are scattered even into the desert, across the sea and away from this land, and we have forgotten how to recognize ourselves. We don't even know how to recognize ourselves. We don't see each other as sisters and brothers, as part of the same whole. So the message today, sisters and brothers, is beware the destroyers. It is their habit. We shouldn't be surprised. It is their habit to cut off fingers from the hand itself, uproot it from its parent body, calling each fallen piece a creature in and of itself, different from ears, eyes, nose, feet, entrails, and other individual creatures of their making. You know, we're different from those Southern Africans, those people in the South. We're different from them. Us people that are in the East and the West. But Malcolm told us what? He says, as long as you're south of the Canadian border, you're south. You know, we're different from those. You know, the people on the east coast of Africa, they're different from the people on the west coast of Africa. They're different from the, man. And who benefits from all that disunity? The one who's causing it. So the message today, keep it in the back of your mind when you hear different stories. Beware of the destroyers. It's their habit to cut off things and cause us to forget how to recognize ourselves. So the ancients along the Nile were and still are Africoid. The ancients along the Nile were and still are Africoid. Ashe?
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you.
Ashe. Oh.
Very empowering. Thank you very much.
Ashe.
Yeah. Woo. Go on with yourself.
Beware the destroyers.
Yes, we are an African people.
Great job, Minister Imhotep.
Whether their name is DeSantis or whatever, yes, those in Florida are making a big mess. That's what they do.
We need to destroy it.
Like Minister Imhotep was saying, this is their pattern. But we hope you learned something today. Hope you join us again in understanding who we really are. If you learned something, if you heard something here that helped lift your spirit, created some understanding for you, please join us now. Lift your hand. Let us see who you are. Put a word in the chat. Let us know. Join us here at WOSE. Let me see. Anyone there? Seeing only familiar faces. I'll turn it over then to Baba Jeff, who will lead us in our national anthem. And now unto them who is able to lift us up faultlessly before the throne on high, may they empower us to be a people with one aim, one vision, one faith,
One faith.
one heart,
One heart,
and one God.
One God.
Let us call on the name of that one God. Let us all say together. You are the most beautiful people
on the
on
face
on the
of
face
this
of this
earth.
earth. Ashe.